Hello, hello everyone. Welcome to the UV mapping walkthrough part 1. So what I'm going to be showing you today has to do with the texture map homework that was assigned today, workshop 8. This is not the UV mapping posters thing that you did for homework that was due today. That was that dealt with flat planes and just automatically attaching textures. This is actual UV mapping. So in order to do that, I'm going to download this workshop, and it's going to be a zip file in your downloads folder. But what I have to do now is I have to come in here and I have to copy it, right click copy, and then I have to find somewhere else, in this case my desktop. Well, whoops, that was a different run through. And I'm going to paste it out here. So I'm putting this on my desktop because that's just where I can find it, but you do have to extract it from the zip file. If you try to work from in here, it's not going to work. All right, so then I'm actually going to open up my just clean because I want to set the project before I open the file. It's just a little bit easier for me. That's how I kind of think of it. And I found that it does connect. I just hit new here. It connects a little bit better, I think. I think it connects better to the project, like more reliably if I do it like this. So I have a blank file open. I say File, Set Project. And then I go to my desktop and I say UV Workshop 1. I say Set. And then when I go to File, Open, it should bring me right to the Scenes folder within that workshop. So again, it's File, Set Project, single click UV Workshop. There's no double clicking here. Single click, hit Set. File, Open. If it brings you to the right place, then you know it's working well. Homework is the homework, so we're going to open that file. We say don't save, we say continue. There is an extra group in here. This is absolutely meaningless as far as I know, so we're going to delete it. And we've got our frame here. Now this is more complicated than the one we looked at in class. That is intentional. And I'm going to open up a few things. I'm going to close my outliner just because I only have the one item and I want as much space as possible. And I'm going to open up my UV editor, and it opens as this like free floating thing. So I'm going to grab the tab and I'm going to, there it is. I'm going to dock it right there. So you can grab these tabs and you can drag them along, and when something highlights blue, it's going to dock it in that direction. I'm also going to grab the UV toolkit, and if I hover between these two things, I can put it right there. And I got to kind of balance between having my actual 3D space where my frame is and having my UV space where I'm going to be mapping stuff out. If you need the, let's see, how did we get the, the UV toolkit came up on its own, and I wanted to see if I can find it. Well, if yours isn't coming up, Google search UV toolkit, and you should be able to find out where in the menu set to bring it up. All right, so this is how I have mine set up. If you have multiple monitors, you can do that as well. So by default, it has automatically mapped this, and that would just be UV automatic, just so you can see what's happening. And it took pictures from all 6 sides, and it gave me this, and I don't want that. That's useless. I want to take a better sort of picture where things are a little bit more connected, because I don't like the fact that these sides are not connected. And some other stuff that's going on. And also I need to teach you how some of these things work. So instead I'm going to go to, actually, can I use this? I'm going to investigate this slightly. Automatic mapping does not usually work out too well because it's, yeah, okay, I had a feeling. It doesn't entirely know. I knew it was going to mess up something. So it took these stripes right here and made them separate. And that's going to be a lot of work for me to connect. I'd rather have everything connected and then like squish it down a little bit. So we are going to remap this. We are going to do what's called planar mapping, UV, and then planar, and then I come in here and I see keep image and height width ratio, and I project from, you can see here, x-axis. So that's the axis coming in this way. So I say x-axis and I say project, and it's done this. And so now I have a slightly different problem where everything is connected, but now I have to unconnect it at some places. So if you want to use the automatic mapping, you can, but then you'll have to do a lot of work kind of stitching things together. Whereas in this case, I have to cut some things. So either way, you're going to be doing some work. But in order to get things separated, I need to figure out where I want to cut them. And the most obvious place is to cut them along these edges right here. So I'm going to get the whole back of this as something separate, which makes sense because the back of that is probably not going to get seen very much. So I can double click all of those, and then I come over here and I say cut. And so now there should be, and you can see that bright white outline, that's telling me that there's a cut, that these are now two separate UV shells, which means I can come over here, right click UV shell. That's the front, and that's the back. Now, I don't care that they're all in this quadrant right now. I'll fix that later. I can shrink this down a bit, just so it's not quite so in the way. And then I'll bring this back here. I'll probably shrink it down a little bit. All right, so I care a little bit where it is. All right, another place that I'm going to excise is these front four panels that make up the actual image itself. So these four panels, oh, sorry. That's what it should look like when it's selected in here. I accidentally selected something else. These four panels should be separate because that's the content of the painting itself, or photo, or whatever. So I'm going to go into edge mode again. And in order to get these edges, I'm double clicking to get both, but then I'm holding down shift because it's double clicking is only going to get you kind of one side. Nope. I hit undo because I got the wrong thing. There we go. Make sure we only have that. And again, I cut. And again, I come over here, UV shell. And I use my move tool. Same move, rotate, and scale tools that we've been using all semester. And I'm going to bring this over here. And this one I'm not going to shrink down yet. This one I don't mind shrinking because it's the back. We're not going to have as many details, but this is the like photo or painting or whatever it is. And that one I need to see. If that makes any sense. All right, next up on this, I need to go back into edge mode. I need to sort of deal with these sides that are right now hidden. So right now, if we turn on our checkerboard, see how these are stretched? This is pretty nice. This is pretty nice, but it's bigger because it's got less resolution. And then this just stretches on forever. That's because those are hidden. To put it another way, see that red? Well, that one's off base, so we're not going to see it. And see this red. That means we can't see them in this picture, which means they're not going to get UV'd. Like they're not going to have any texture on them. So right click edge mode. I click that, I hit cut. I'm cutting along the corner, just this one corner, just that one edge on the corner. I don't need to go beyond that. Cut. Cut. All right, so now here comes the tricky part. Moving this stuff to separate it. There are some tools in here that can be used. I can drag select here, and there's an unfold option. So this is not a terrible way to do it. However, I would have to issue some corrections, because these lines are all now crooked, and that bugs me because they're straight out here. And so maybe I don't want to do that. Now, one thing I can try, if I go to edge mode and I double click and go around, wait, is that what I want? Yes. I'm making sure I have the correct edge. There's this unfold along. Unfold UVs using a horizontal or vertical constraint. Oh, interesting. So it doesn't matter what I selected. Maybe it unfolds along the UV. Oh, wait, I think I have to have the object itself selected. Syntax error. Love that for us. Negative. That's not doing what I want it to. So the trick is figuring out how to unfold it in here without moving this. That's the tricky business, because it's, let's see, can I come in here? I believe that got everything. Yep, nope, that's not gonna do what I needed to. So a lot of these options, it's figuring out how to get what you want the most easily, I guess. And anytime you're selecting edge or vertex or anything like that in here, you are also sharing these vertexes. So I can try again the unfold and maybe, nope. Ooh, actually, if I go into UV shell and I say straighten shell, some edges or UVs must be selected before performing this operation. Well, I did have them selected. Oh, yes. Excellent. Okay, that is the combination of tools we want to use for this particular item. We're going to do that again. And we're going to watch here and make sure nothing changes. So we cut, to review, we cut along each of these corners because we know we need to sort of like unfold this out. And the easiest way to do that is to drag select this whole thing in vertex mode and say unfold. And you can see it did it a little over here too. It changed it a little bit, but that shouldn't matter too much. And it did this, but look, it's like crooked. And see how this is bending? We don't like that. But there is also this straighten UVs option, which then afterwards is like, okay, this person wants everything to be straight. It's not perfect. We still have to fix these front bits here, but a lot of the work is now done. If I take a close look at this and I go into edge mode, I can double check and make sure that that's the next thing, you know, that like, yeah, there we go. Those interior edges, that's this interior edge. You can see that it's straightened it out a lot, which is great. The only thing it seems to have messed up on is these. So you can see that it like made them, it kind of like moored them. Now these are smaller than their counterparts in the real life model, because they have to be in order to kind of be seen. So we're gonna correct this. This is a small thing to correct. So this managed to get a lot of the work done for us, which is, we always like it getting the work done for us. Here. There we go. All right. So how do we test how this is working? Well, we can go here and I'm going to make this a lot smaller. think I can also, no. I want to see how, oh wait, I didn't order everything. Well, you can see there's checkerboard patterns over here now, right? So that part's working out much better. The other thing we're looking at is to see if anything looks like it's being really, really squashed or stretched. Like anything being warped. All right, so you can see it a little bit along here. See how these are bending down a little? See how these are bending up a little? That's unavoidable. That's happening because over on this side, these had to shrink down. In order to see these at all, they need to shrink down. And I'm making the choice to keep them connected because I want it to be the same pattern, and then I'll just deal with the fact that it's a little bit stretched over here. Another way to check how this is working is to turn on this. So I can go to UV shell, and now I can try and fit all of my stuff in here, because that's the joy of this, is trying to fit everything in here. As well as we possibly can, which might not be super well. So what I can do here is I can rotate this, because this is the back, and I can keep track of up and down. Because again, we're not going to see it very much. And now it fits in there better. So I can get this, the bigger these are, the more it's going to make sense, the better it's going to be. Now I do have to double check this one because I do not like that. What fun. Can I go to UV mode? Yeah, okay. So what's happened here is it got affected by the other thing when I unwrapped it. So let me see if I can unfold and then straighten. Okay, I kind of had to redo this part because that outline was folded in on itself, and that's no good. But once I do that, I can just over here. Keep this as straight as possible. As long as, we're not putting down like wood planks or something, it's not gonna matter. And again, I'm making this as big as I can without being too cute about it and having them right on top of each other, because the bigger these are, the more resolution we have when we get into Photoshop or whatever our painting program is. So this tells me nothing is hidden. And I don't see any red in here. I don't see any red on here. So it's very important to check in the 3D space if there's any red. And then I can check this. Now this tells me sort of what's too big and what's too small relative to something else. And you can see that it's not exactly white like the thing that we did in class. And that makes sense. For example, because of the way 3D space works, this has to shrink down a little. There's no choice in the matter. And you can tell it's more or less centered depending on which of these turns red. They're always going to turn a bit red. We can't not do that, in other words, because of how that is. Let me see here. And yeah, all 4 of them are like that, but they're not deep red, right? If they were like that, that would be cause for concern. Let's make sure I save this. Save our work more often. You'll also notice that for some reason, these have been declared kind of too close together. No, too far apart, but somehow this isn't relative to everything else. And yet this is the same band. So the math's a little bit fuzzy. And in fact, that same band is getting a little bit too close together over here. So it's gonna be a little bit like this, but this is pretty minimal in terms of problems. So in terms of stretching and squashing, it's not going to be too bad, which is what we're looking for. There was always going to be a little bit of it going on in here, because of the way this is being handled. So because this is coming into here, this is losing a bit of its space. All right, so but that's okay. I think also there's a display thing in here where here you can see this unto itself is fine, this unto itself is fine, but when these are attached over here, it's showing you how they are relative to each other, which we don't have to worry about. What matters is mostly what's going on in here. All right, so that is how I would separate out all those UVs, get them flattened out. So I've got my file saved. And in the next video, I will show you how to export from here, get into Photoshop, bring it back in.